Imagine a game with no rules, no referee, no boundaries, just hundreds of men fighting over a ball through city streets, rivers, and muddy fields. Bones were broken, people died, and somehow that brutal chaos became the most popular sport on Earth. This is the real story of soccer, and it starts over 2,000 years ago. Cuju. This was the first structured ball game in recorded human history, and it was already surprisingly sophisticated long before Europe knew what a ball even was. Born in China during the Han Dynasty around 206 BC, Cuju was originally designed as a military training exercise to improve soldiers' agility, coordination, and stamina. The name literally translates as kick the ball, and the rules were elegant. Players used their feet, chest, and back, never their hands, to keep a leather ball airborne or kick it through a small hole cut in a silk net suspended between two tall bamboo poles. At its peak, during the Tang and Song dynasties, Cuju was played by emperors, soldiers, noblewomen, and children alike, making it one of the most socially inclusive sports of the ancient world. One historical record claims a single player kept the ball in the air for over 1,000 consecutive kicks without letting it drop. FIFA officially recognized Cuju as the earliest form of soccer in 2004. The world's most beloved sport was not invented in England. It was invented in China over 2,000 years ago. Episkiros. Ancient Greece had its own version of the ball game, and it was far more physical than Cuju's elegant aerial artistry. Played as far back as 800 BC, Episkiros involved two teams of up to 14 players each, separated by a white chalk line drawn across the ground, competing to throw or kick a ball over the opposing team's back boundary line. Unlike Cuju, Episkiros fully embraced contact. Players could block, push, and tackle freely, making every game a test of strength as much as skill. It was so central to Greek culture that a carved stone relief dated around 400 BC, now displayed in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, clearly shows a young athlete balancing a ball on his knee, one of the oldest visual records of a ball sport in human history. Greek soldiers spread the game throughout the Mediterranean during military campaigns, and when Roman legions later conquered Greece, they encountered Episkiros and immediately recognized its potential as a training tool. Episkiros was not just a pastime, it was a template for competitive team sport that would travel west across empires and plant seeds that no one could have predicted. Harpastum. Roman legions carried this game to the edges of the known world, and in doing so, accidentally planted the roots of European football forever. Developed around 100 BC from the Greek episkiros, harpastum was played on a rectangular dirt field with a small, hard ball stuffed with sand or feathers. The objective was to keep the ball within your team's territory while opponents used every physical means available, grappling, wrestling, shoving, and brute force to steal it back. Roman soldiers played harpastum daily as a conditioning discipline, treating it as seriously as weapons training. Its presence in Britain, Gaul, Spain, and North Africa planted the earliest seeds of ball culture across the entire Western world. The Roman physician Galen even recommended harpastum as the ideal sport because it trained both physical endurance and tactical thinking simultaneously, a remarkably modern idea for its time. When the Western Roman Empire collapsed in 476 AD, harpastum did not disappear with it. It quietly blended into Celtic and Germanic folk traditions, mutating across generations into something wilder, louder, and completely beyond any emperor's control. Celtic ball games. These wild, uncontrollable traditions were the living bridge between Roman harpastum and the medieval football that would eventually terrorize English kings. Across Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and Cornwall, Celtic communities developed their own deeply rooted ball games long before any organized rules existed anywhere in Europe. In Ireland, a game called tide had entire villages competing to carry or kick a ball to a destination, sometimes miles away through rivers, forests, and open farmland. In Cornwall, a game called hurling to goals involved players kicking and carrying an inflated pig's bladder across open countryside with no fixed boundaries and no fixed number of players. These games had almost no rules, could last from sunrise to sunset, and were deeply tied to harvest festivals, religious celebrations, and seasonal rituals. Playing ball was a way of honoring community, land, and life itself. Is it surprising that the most chaotic sporting traditions almost always have the deepest cultural roots? These Celtic games directly shaped medieval mob football, passing on their borderless, village-wide, beautifully uncontrollable DNA to a game that no authority would ever truly tame. Mob football. Nothing in the entire history of sports even comes close to the spectacular, terrifying, beloved madness of this tradition. Beginning as early as the 9th century, mob football was played on Shrove Tuesday and major feast days, pitting entire towns and villages against each other in a no-holds-barred battle to move a ball, usually an inflated pig's bladder, from one end of a town to the other. There were no teams of 11. There was no referee. There was no offside rule. There was no field. Hundreds of players simultaneously flooded the streets. The pitch was the entire town, and goals were often church doors, tavern signs, or landmark buildings miles apart. Broken bones, dislocations, and deaths were routinely recorded in town chronicles. One legendary game in Derby, England, involved over 1,000 players simultaneously crossing rivers, knocking down fences, demolishing market stalls, and flooding taverns, all while chasing a single pig's bladder. Did you know that this game happened regularly for over 500 years before anyone wrote down a single rule? Mob football wasn't just a game. It was organized community chaos with a ball at the center, and it was absolutely magnificent. The royal bans. What makes this chapter extraordinary is not that kings tried to ban football, it's that nobody ever listened to them. In 1314, King Edward II of England issued the first officially recorded ban on football in London, declaring that the great noise caused by men hustling over large balls through city streets was disrupting commerce and threatening public order. His proclamation threatened imprisonment for anyone caught playing. Football continued the very next day. Over the following 3 centuries, at least 30 separate laws were passed across England, Scotland, and France, attempting to outlaw ball games by Edward III, Richard II, Henry IV, Henry V, and James I of Scotland, among many others. The stated reason was almost never morality. It was military readiness. Medieval kings were furious that young men were spending their afternoons kicking pigs' bladders around instead of practicing archery, which was the critical combat skill of the era. Football was officially classified as a threat to national security. Soldiers were court-martialed for playing it. And still, in every village, on every feast day, in every muddy field across Britain, people played. The medieval ball. The object at the center of all this chaos was one of the most creative and resourceful pieces of equipment in all of sports history, because it was made from absolutely whatever was available. The most common medieval football was simply a pig's bladder, taken fresh from a butcher, inflated by mouth, and tied shut at the top. These bladders were cheap, widely available, and had a naturally rounded shape when inflated. The problem was they burst easily, deflated within hours, and became dangerously rock-hard in cold weather. By the 12th century, craftsmen began wrapping the bladder in stitched leather panels to create a more durable outer shell, a design that remained fundamentally unchanged for over 700 years until vulcanized rubber changed everything in the 1850s. Different regions developed creative variations. Some balls were stuffed with cork shavings, others with dried moss, rags, or sawdust. In some regions, the inflated stomach of a cow was used as the ball itself. A single well-crafted leather football could cost more than a craftsman's entire daily wage. The ball itself quietly tells the story of a game slowly, stubbornly transforming from wild street tradition into something that desperately wanted to become a sport. Shrove Tuesday football. This was the single most important day in the entire medieval football calendar, and in some English towns, it is still happening right now in the 21st century. Shrove Tuesday, the day before the beginning of Lent, was the last day of feasting and celebration before 40 days of fasting and prayer, and ball games became the primary way communities released collective energy and celebrated together. The most famous surviving example is the Royal Shrovetide football game in Ashbourne, Derbyshire, England, which has been played continuously since at least the 12th century. The pitch is the entire town of Ashbourne, roughly 5 kilometers long. The goals are 2 old mill wheels, 3 miles apart. The teams are simply the uppards, everyone born north of the local river, versus the downards, everyone born south of it. The game can last 2 full days. There are almost no rules except that you cannot use motorized transport or hide the ball in a bag. Prince Charles, now King Charles III, played in the 2003 game. Does it get more medieval than a game that has never stopped? This is not just history. This is living history, still kicking. Calcio Storico. Italy's most spectacular contribution to football history is living proof that medieval ball games never truly disappeared. They just dressed up in Renaissance costumes and kept going, with even more violence. Developed in Florence during the 16th century, Calcio Storico, which translates literally as historic football, was played by Florentine nobles in the city's grand piazzas as a demonstration of strength, courage, and neighborhood pride. Each of Florence's 4 historic districts, Santa Croce, Santa Maria Novella, Santo Spirito, and San Giovanni, fielded a team of 27 players. The game simultaneously combined soccer, rugby, and wrestling, with players freely allowed to punch, headbutt, choke, and tackle opponents, while also kicking or carrying the ball into a goal line. The Medici family, the most powerful dynasty in Renaissance Italy, not only permitted the game, but participated in it, with Lorenzo de' Medici himself reportedly taking the field. In 1530, during the Siege of Florence, citizens played a full match of Calcio Storico in the middle of the church against football. This was one of the longest institutional battles in sports history, and for all its authority, the church completely lost. From the 12th century onward, the Catholic Church repeatedly and officially condemned football as a direct source of violence, gambling, Sabbath violation, and moral corruption. Priests were forbidden from participating under threat of ecclesiastical punishment. Church councils across Europe officially banned games played in churchyards, which was an enormous practical problem, since churchyards were the largest open public spaces in most medieval towns, making them the natural default venue for any large gathering. Church records documented shocking incidents with disturbing regularity. A man stabbed to death during a game in Cheshire in 1280. A player trampled to death in London in 1321. Countless cases of broken limbs, riots, and property destruction attributed directly to football. The church's opposition was both moral and deeply practical. Sunday football kept thousands of people away from Mass, turned sacred ground into a battlefield, and how football survived. The story of how this game outlasted every attempt to destroy it is perhaps the most quietly extraordinary chapter in all of sports history. The answer is both simple and profound. Football was never merely a game. It was a social ritual, a pressure valve for communities under constant stress, an expression of identity and belonging that no king's decree or bishop's sermon could replace. Every time a monarch issued a ban, local communities found new ways to play, in private fields outside town limits, behind monastery walls during travel days, in forest clearings far from any sheriff's jurisdiction. Every time the church condemned it, players relocated their games just far enough away to claim plausible innocence. The game survived for a fundamental reason. It cost absolutely nothing to play, required no equipment that couldn't be improvised from a butcher's scraps, and gave ordinary people, peasants, apprentices, soldiers, and students, a sense of power, freedom, and community that no institution could manufacture or offer as a substitute. By the late 17th century, students at Cambridge and Oxford were already playing organized versions with informal codes, quietly building towards something the world had never seen. No law, no pope, and no king had managed to stop it. The road to modern rules. The final chapter of this 2,000-year journey ended not on a battlefield or in a royal court, but in a London pub. In 1848, students at Cambridge University produced the first serious attempt at a unified football rulebook, the Cambridge Rules, an effort to standardize the wildly different versions of the game played across English schools and universities. But the decisive, world-changing moment came on October 26, 1863, when representatives of 12 London football clubs gathered at the Freemasons Tavern in London and founded the Football Association, the first governing body of football in the history of the world. The debates were fierce and historic. Clubs that insisted on the right to carry the ball eventually broke away and formed what became rugby football. And there it is, from ancient China to medieval English streets soaked in mud and blood, the true origin story of the world's most beloved game. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. It genuinely means everything to this channel. If you learned something new today, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second and helps this channel reach more history lovers just like you. Subscribe so you never miss our next deep dive into the ancient and medieval world. And now we want to hear from you in the comments. Which item surprised you the most? Was it Cuju being recognized by FIFA? The royal bans that nobody obeyed? Or Calcio Storico still being played today with the same brutality? Drop your answer below. And if you have a topic you'd love us to cover next, suggest it. We read every single comment. See you in the next one.